So the sine is not the only trigonometric ratio that we're going to be dealing with in this class. It's one of 3 that we will see in this class. There's actually 6 that are in common use, but like I said, we're just going to be dealing with 3 in this class because the other 3 are essentially these same ones, but well, it's 1 over the sine of a would be one of them, 1 over the cosine, and so on. So in any case, sine, the sine of a is generally the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. So the sine of this angle is the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. The cosine, that's generally written cos, like this, but we would pronounce it cosine, is the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. So the cosine of a, cosine of this angle a, would be the adjacent leg, which is b, divided by the hypotenuse, so b over c. That would be the cosine of a. And then finally, the tangent of a, which we write as tan a, would be written, this is the opposite side, so that's a, divided by the adjacent leg, so a over b. So sine of a was a over c, cosine of a is b over c, and tangent a is a over b. And because these are ratios of 2 sides in a triangle, it doesn't matter how big the triangle is. The only thing that really matters is what angle this was. And that's why I say the cosine of a. It's if we have a triangle, a right triangle with this a as one of the measurements, then the ratio of these 2 sides is going to remain constant. You can also talk about the sine of b, the cosine of b, and the tangent of b. You can see the sine of b is the opposite over the hypotenuse. The adjacent, or the cosine of b, is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. That's a over c. You can see that right there. And the tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. That's b over a. You can see it actually ends up just being flipped upside down from the a over b there. But the sine and cosine end up switching places. So sine of a is the same thing as the cosine of b. The cosine of a is the same as the sine of b. So instead of trying to remember all these sorts of different things, there is the common way to remember these is SOHCAHTOA. So when you read this, you should see sine is opposite over adjacent. Oh, sorry, opposite over hypotenuse. The h is hypotenuse. Sine, opposite, hypotenuse. Ka stands cosine, is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent means, well, or toa rather, is tangent is opposite over adjacent. So those are the 3 trigonometric ratios you need to know how to do. So the sines, the cosines, and tangents. So let's do a couple of these. Let's use the triangle to find the following. And you know what? Instead of calling this 36 degrees, I should just call these x. Because I don't want us to be able to plug it into the calculator the other way. If we want to find the sine of this angle, then what I need to do is I need to take the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. So 47 divided by 80. If I wanted to find the cosine of this angle, it would be the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. So I'm looking at sine is the opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. That's 65 divided by 80. And the tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. This is 47 over 65.